Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. My name is Amy with two E's, and I am the CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and courses, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues. Welcome to episode 233 of the Irresistible You podcast. Today, we are diving into the emotional weight of the holiday season and how to navigate all of the stress and to stay grounded in the process. You know, we all experience this at some level this time of year, and that is the emotional weight that the holidays can bring. It's more than just the hustle and bustle. It is the emotional baggage that we carry with us through the different gatherings, through the family dynamics, and the pressure to do it all, buy it all, make everything look Pinterest ready and Instagrammable, and keep it all together. And that's a lot of stress and that's a lot of pressure. In addition to the emotional weight of the triggers around emotional eating and the food, the triggers around gaining weight this time of year, or trying to even just maintain our weight this time of year. There are just so many things that are popping off as we get into October, November, and December. And I want to say to that also that when we talk about emotional weight, just like I've talked before with you guys in a couple episodes back, we talked about getting ready for Q4. There are stresses that are good stress and bad stress. And I think when we think about emotional weight, we tend to just think about the negative. But I also think high emotion, happy emotions, joy, wanting to do all the things that we want to do because we love the holidays also comes with a level of emotional weight as well, because it is still a type of stress. Whether it's positive or whether it's negative, the body still processes that stress the same way. So we are going to just get into it. And I was thinking a lot about this topic and the expectations, right? And a lot of times they're expectations that we put on ourselves. They're not even expectations from anyone else, right? We have these expectations that we put on ourselves. And I was thinking about, how have I personally dealt with this stress of the holidays in the past? And I think that for me, I probably didn't deal with it. I think there was many years where I may have not dealt with it because I never was self-aware enough to realize that I was being triggered, or to realize why certain situations are causing my stomach to hurt, or causing me to feel like I just feel anxious, or I just don't feel good about certain situations, right? And as I've gotten older and gone through my personal development journey and continue to do that, and have my own family and have our own little traditions that we've started with the five of us, Chewy included, of course, that's been really helpful as well. And so I just want to have you think about, how have you dealt with this? Have you even had a conversation with yourself to determine if this time of year is triggering for you? Maybe it's not, but I know for the majority of people, it can be a very triggering time of year for a multitude of reasons. There are many, many reasons why this time of year can feel that way. And so think about how in the past, how have you dealt with this? And I bet you, for a lot of you listening, especially if you're early on in your Irresistible You journey, you probably haven't dealt with it. You haven't been self-aware enough to know what your triggers are, which as a result, you do a lot of emotional eating. You do a lot of emotional eating, especially around the holidays, because you don't even realize that there are things that are bothering you or that are stressing you out. And that's what, I call it zombie eating, zombie walking through life. When you're doing that, it's because you're so completely zoned out from what you feel, who you are, what you want, that you just you're like a zombie walking around life just eating and eating and eating and eating and eating and not giving a shit what the consequences are of that. And so it's not just about, just like everything I talk about here, it's not just about your physical weight. Like that's such a small part of the picture of this entire journey, but it's about the emotional weight. And if we don't understand and recognize what emotional weight are we carrying, what triggers are triggering us, we won't ever be able to fix that, right? And a lot of people will do this thing, and I was one of those people at some points in my life where they decide, fuck it, it's Halloween, and I'm going to just have the fuck it mentality for the rest of the year. It's like, oh, it's too hard to lose weight this time of year. It's too hard to stay on track. It's too hard. There's parties, there's candies, there's dinners, there's this, there's that. It's like, those are just excuses. And I am such a big pusher of, if you don't learn how to manage your emotions, you will never overcome your weight problem. If you don't learn how to manage your emotions, you will never lose your physical weight for life. Because every single time shit goes down, or you are triggered, or you are bothered, you're going to go right back to your old habits of overeating, binge eating, emotional eating. It just is what it is. And I think it's just a shame, because I wish that emotional regulation, emotional management, why is this not taught from the moment we are in preschool? And I have to say, though, I will say, my son's preschool, my daughter's school, they have done some work around this. My son came home, he's 3, and he's like, Mommy, you're crossing my boundary. Listen, first I was like, oh my God, what? And then I was so proud of him. I'm like, this is such amazing. I wish everyone talked like this. I wish everyone communicated, hey, you're crossing my boundary right now, and I don't appreciate that. And we could not be offended that someone says that to us. But imagine where all of us as adults would have been if we would have learned that language, and we would have learned emotional management and regulation from the time we were young, right? It is probably the top skill that you need as a human being, and it's not taught. It's not mentioned. It's not taught. We just sweep emotions under the rug, suck it up, and move on, right? That's probably how a lot of us were brought up. And that is not going to help. That is not going to solve your problems. That is not going to help you keep the weight off for the rest of your life. So what is the emotional weight of the holidays? What am I even talking about? What is emotional weight? Emotional weight is the weight that we can't see, right? It's emotional, it's invisible, but Lord knows we carry it, right? We have the weight of the world on our shoulders, and we are carrying that weight around with us at all times. This includes feelings like overwhelm. I mean, if overwhelm could be the word for the season, right? Overwhelm, anxiety, frustration, pressure, the constant pressure to make things feel perfect. If you already operate like that January through September, when you get to the holiday season, it's magnified, because you want everything to be perfect in terms of, especially if you're a parent, the magic for the kids, right? The seasonal events, going to see the lights, going to all the little Christmas gatherings, going to the different events that are going on. And then we have this added pressure nowadays where we have social media, and we see how people are decorating their homes, and it's over the top. And I know I fall into that category too, because I love to decorate my home for the holidays. I want my house to feel like Christmas threw up over my entire house. That brings me joy. I like doing that. But I also know that when we see other people decorating and they have things that we can't afford, or we wish that we had room for, or we wish that we had a house that was designed that way, or the nice, beautiful wraparound porch that we don't have, it brings feelings of comparison, overwhelm, pressure that you're not enough. And you need to realize that you are enough. That takes a lot of work, but it adds to this emotional weight. And holiday events, there's usually a lot of things scheduled. There's a lot of things scheduled with work where they're having little parties, or the school with the kids, they're having events, or, just the holiday itself, like prepping and planning Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. These holidays come with a lot. It's not just the one day, right? It's not just the one day that is Thanksgiving. It is the prepping and planning and budgeting leading up to, right? And for me in October, as you guys know that know me, like, this is a big celebration month. I have both of my kids' birthdays, my husband's birthday, our wedding anniversary, and Halloween. There's a lot going on. And I'm not complaining about this. I love it. I love the celebrations. I love the parties. I love the decorating and the themes and everything. But it takes us out of our normal day-to-day and adds extra things that we want to do. And do you notice what I just said? Do you notice what I just said? Extra things that we want to do. You notice how I didn't say need to do? Because quite frankly, we don't need to pass out candy on Halloween. We don't need to decorate our home for the holidays. We don't need to host Thanksgiving. We don't need to buy our kids every hot gift item on the Amazon wish list. We don't need to do any of that stuff. We want to do it. Many people feel pressured to do it, but we don't need to do it. So I think you need to approach it that way. That was not part of my notes, but that was like an aha moment just now, that changing your mindset of, I have to get the tree up, I have to do this, I have to decorate all the rooms. You don't have to decorate every single room of your house with a Christmas tree. Amy, talking to you. But I want to, but I don't need to. So if you're feeling the pressure, if you're feeling the overwhelm, take a step back and remember, I don't need to do any of this. I want to do it, and what is realistic for me to get done based on where I'm at in my life right now. You know what I mean? Do you need to scale things back? So, there's just that, those are the feelings. That's what emotional weight feels like. And so when we feel a certain way, we then have actions that result from how we feel, right? And so a lot of us that are listening, that comes out in overeating. It comes out in emotional eating, right? Binge eating. That's how we deal with the triggers. And a lot of times it's because we don't realize we have triggers to begin with, because you haven't done the work on yourself. You haven't done the self-awareness work to realize, you know what? It really triggers me when I lay in bed and I scroll Instagram and I see everybody with their perfect $1 million homes and their 10-foot, 12-foot tall Christmas trees. It's triggering for me, right? I like those videos, but sometimes I just can't watch them. I right now need to be in a season where I'm creating more than I'm consuming in terms of content. And that's okay, right? It's okay that you don't follow certain people or that you stop watching certain types of content, because it can be very triggering. And so these emotional triggers that come with the holidays can come from that pressure, that overwhelm. It can come from knowing there's certain family members that you don't normally interact with or you don't normally see, and you know that you're going to see them, or knowing that when you're around certain people, there's certain topics that come up that you are not comfortable with. I think that is highly true of where we're at right now, especially in the United States, right? It's an election year, but it's been this way for a while, right? Like I feel like we've been in an ongoing election for a very long time, but those topics coming up or being around family or friends that you don't have the same views. And some people want to be vocal about how they feel about certain things. That is very triggering and very uncomfortable. And feeling the need to just be on and just on and popping all the time, right? Like you got to show up, you got to show out, you got to do this, you got to do that. And the truth is, we don't have to do any of this shit. And I have to tell you, as much as I love the holidays and I get into it and I do the little crafts with the kids and the food and everything else, something about, and I hate saying this because there was so much death and sickness and destruction that happened that year in 2020. So I don't want to overshadow that. I don't want this to sound nasty in terms of like, I'm not saying that I want to go back to that by any means, but what I want to allude to here is that in 2020, I felt like a lot of pressure was off. A lot of pressure was off in terms of the holiday season. You could just be like, well, we're all having to mask up. And in 2020, I was pregnant. So I'm like, we just can't see you, or we just can't go to that thing. We can't go to that party. And everybody else was at home. So you didn't feel like you had to keep up with everybody else, right? Nobody else was out and about doing certain things. So that pressure was off. Also with like your looks, all of us were looking ragged with the nails. All of our nails were looking ragged. Everybody was not Botoxing. Everybody was not hitting the salon. So we were all kind of like, on the same page as far as that goes. And honestly, like, just felt less pressure. And what does that say about our society? What does that say about how we have set up our own lives? Maybe it's time to go back to doing things a lot more simple. Maybe it's time to just do things the way you want to do it and not what you think is expected of you. My problem is I'm the one who puts the pressure on myself. Like, I asked Frank the other day, I said, if I wasn't around, would you like decorate the house for the holidays? He's like, no. No. I said, but do you like it? He goes, well, yeah. He goes, but if you didn't do it, I wouldn't say anything. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I cannot believe you didn't put the Winter Wonderland room together this year. Like, he wouldn't care. He's like, I love it. It's cozy and it makes the house a home and all that. But it's like, it wouldn't be a big deal. I wouldn't care. Right. And I'm the one who puts a lot of my own pressure on myself. I think a lot of us that are listening, we're the same way. You probably do the exact same thing. My kids love decorating. They do. But we could do a fourth of what I currently do and they would be over the moon. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. Like, a lot of that is me, right? And that's okay. I like it. I enjoy it. And if I ever feel like it's too much or I'm just not feeling it this year, then I'm not doing it, right? I'm not going to do it. So that is what the emotional weight looks like. That is what it feels like. It feels heavy. Even though you're not jumping on the scale and seeing, you can't see it on the scale, you can feel it. You feel that emotional weight, that pressure, right, on your shoulders. And yeah, I think we talked about everything there in that section that I wanted to share. So let's now talk about how to recognize the signs, how to recognize the emotional overload. What does that look like for you? I always think of it as like constantly on the edge, constantly like just, you're like wound up tight in a ball and you're always anxious and feeling edgy and feeling like, your mind is always going a million miles a minute, trying to keep up, trying to stay organized, right, with all of the things. And you're not enjoying the season for what the season is, right? You're not enjoying what it actually is about. And that's what people lose sight of, right? It can also show up physically. When we are stressed, do not get it twisted. Stress is not just something that you feel through your emotions, right? Stress shows up physically. It shows up physically, right? Headaches, tension, your heart rate racing, like your body feeling sore and inflamed. And then when you're stressed out, you're not sleeping. And a lack of sleep is like one of the worst things that you can do for yourself. And then when you're not sleeping and you're stressed out and you're emotionally triggered, hello, overeating. I know for some people, I am not one of them. I don't think you probably are either, or most of the people that are listening to this. Some people undereat when they're stressed out. That has happened to me twice, maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. And the first time I can ever clearly remember not eating because of stress was the first time. So Frank is a veteran. The first time that I was with him when he deployed, he was in the Navy. Our first deployment together as a couple, when he left over the weekend on a Saturday. I did not eat any food until Monday, and I was so sick and shaking, and I'm sure my blood sugar was so low, and I was just so distraught and beside myself. Like, this was a big deal, deployments are not easy. And we didn't even have a family. We didn't even have a dog, but I was young. I had never dealt with anything like this. And then I want to say the next deployment, he was supposed to be gone for a whole year. And thank God all of that worked out. It was a miracle. It actually got canceled. He was gone for a few months, but then the actual deployment to Iraq got canceled, which was amazing. But I was the same way at first, just completely distraught. And I want to say when Kat first got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I was having a hard time eating. I was starving because I wasn't eating. But when I would sit down to actually eat, I just couldn't get the food down for a few days, probably for a week or two. I was like that. But in most cases for me, I'm the opposite. I'm the overeater who's just like, and it's when you're mindless. You're the zombie eating mindless person, and you're just eating because you're so anxious. You don't know what to do with yourself, right? So it shows up that way. It feels like you are constantly spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere, that you're just barely getting by, that you're running on empty. That is what it feels like. That is what it feels like. And the first step in this entire process, and if you don't take anything else away from this episode, what I want you to take away from this is to work on your self-awareness. Work on your self-awareness. Because if you are not self-aware, then how are you ever going to know what you're triggered by and then what to do about it? And I'm not asking you to have a plan at this point. What I'm telling you is just become self-aware. Check in with yourself. Journal. How am I feeling right now? I feel like I'm feeling a little off. I'm feeling anxious. Why am I feeling like this right now? And just journal. And you don't censor yourself when you do that, right? You don't edit. You don't edit as you go. You just let it out. Remembering who's going to come in here and look at your notes. Like, who's going to look at your journal? And if there is someone that you are afraid, like, that's a whole nother problem. I'm not getting into that today. But that should be a safe place for you to be able to let everything out. So self-awareness is the first thing. And once you're self-aware and realizing, oh my God, I am feeling overwhelmed. I am feeling stressed out. I don't want to go to that dinner because so-and-so is going to be there and I don't want to be with that person. That is such a big step. Because currently what you've been doing, and I speak from experience because I told you at the beginning that this is what I used to do. I was suppressing. I was denying. I wasn't listening. I wasn't tuned into myself, right? And so then your actions come out, overeating, gaining weight, being withdrawn, whatever, and you don't realize why you're that way, right? So just become self-aware as the first step. And that allows you to acknowledge the feelings and not suppress them. I'm not asking you to do anything with them at this point. I'm just asking you to acknowledge that they even exist. And what I'm going to say next, and this is very, very important, it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to not be okay. It is okay to not like this time of year. It is okay to not be a jolly elf this time of year. It is okay to be worried, because you don't know how you're going to afford Christmas for your children. It is okay to not be able to host Thanksgiving because you can't afford it. And let me tell you this, people are out here struggling as it is, right? Between Christmas and Thanksgiving is already expensive. Halloween was always like, I mean, yeah, there's an expense that comes with Halloween. And I mean, I probably am the exception because I always would go above and beyond for Halloween. But I'm talking just buying candy to hand out to trick-or-treaters or buying the candy for the school party. It's not even affordable anymore. I was at the store and it's like $20, $25 for a bag of candy. And then you wonder why you're stressed out. You wonder why you're overwhelmed. You wonder why you're anxious this time of year, because that's a shit ton of pressure. It's the pressure of everything we've talked about, but then there's also the financial pressure. And that is enough to feel like you are being crushed alive. And it's okay to not be okay. It is okay to recognize that, to acknowledge that. That does not make you a failure, right? It is expensive and it is outrageous and it is getting more and more and more insane. $25 for a bag of candy. And I'm not talking Lindt chocolate. We're talking Snickers, M&M's, Skittles. What the hell? So, I mean, I even noticed it last year. There were less homes with the lights on for Halloween. And I am fully going into Halloween next week expecting there to be probably less homes with the lights on this year. Because honestly, this time of year, it's, as I'm recording this, it's October 22nd. The candy is usually picked over, at least where I am. And I have noticed the candy at the store is completely in stock. Like, it looks like it just got put out on the shelves, like when they did it in August. People are not going out here doing everything anymore because who the hell can afford it? People can't even afford groceries, let alone the extras. And so if you are feeling that pressure that you have to hand out candy, that you have to be the one to host Thanksgiving, that you have to buy every effing person that you interacted with this year something, you don't need to do it. It's what I said at the very beginning. We don't need to do it. You want to do it. You feel pressured to do it. And for a lot of you, you don't even want to do it. You just think you have to do it. So take that pressure off of yourself. And if people can't understand, then those aren't your people. If you think you're going to let someone down because you can't make a Secret Santa basket, F those people. Let them go. Those aren't your people. Those are not real relationships. That is fake. That is materialistic. And those are not your people. I don't expect anyone to do anything for me, to give anything to me. And if someone said to me, hey, this year we just can't, I will feel better. I will be like, cool. Like that is so much better. And then I saw, oh my God. I saw in the mom groups, I'm in the different like local mom groups on Facebook, right? And someone said, hey girl, what are y'all giving your kids in their boo basket? What I'm giving my kids for their boo basket is a fucking Halloween costume. Is I don't know how many different Halloween parties that we had to do before Halloween. That's your Halloween boo. What is a boo basket? I know what it is, but like, why are we doing this? And some of the moms put like these pictures and it is over the top shit, you know? And maybe for me, it's like, I mean, my kids are both born 5 and 10 days away from Halloween. So it's like your boo basket was your fucking birthday party, was your fucking birthday gifts. And your Halloween costume and the school Halloween party and the trick-or-treat event and the other fucking trunk-or-treat that we're going to. There's your boo basket. Happy Halloween. Stop thinking you got to do this stuff. Right? If you want to do it, go for it. Like, yeah, I think it's cute. It is. And I still do a little something like for Halloween. I started it last year, the year, probably 2 years ago now. And we do like a little party, just our family at home after trick or treat. I have food ready. I make something easy. I set up like little party foods and like little tiny Halloween trinkets or whatever. And we watch Halloween movies and shows while everybody opens their trick or treat candy, and it's fun, but you don't have to do any of this stuff. Your kids do not need all of those things that you are stressing out about that you want to buy them for Christmas. I could ask my kids today, hey, what did Santa bring you last year? And I bet you they don't even remember. They probably don't even remember. So think about that, right? We want to make the memories. We want to make the magic, but it doesn't have to just be, I have to buy this and I have to buy that, and that's the only way I can do it. There's so many other ways to do it. But all of this is stressful, right? And it causes us to feel inadequate. It causes us to feel like we're not where we're supposed to be in our own life, that we can't provide X, Y, and Z. It causes us to feel like we're not doing good enough. And when you go online and it looks like everybody is out here living in their multi-million-dollar home, their $100,000 a year car, all of this expensive stuff, I am telling you, that is not the majority of people right now, right? I will be very vulnerable with you guys and share that, like, between my husband and I, we do really good. We're bringing in more money now than we've ever made in our entire life together. And I still am like, where is it going? We're not extravagant. We're not here shopping in luxury stores. I'm not out here buying stuff for myself every other day. Life got really, really expensive. And even if you're doing well and you have a good paying job, like, it's just not stretching the way it used to. And somebody needs to say it. Because I don't want people out here feeling like they're not good enough, because more people than not are out here on the struggle bus. It's just, it is what it is. And it's not going to get any better. It's just not going to get any better. We went to lunch the other day while the kids were at school. We did like an early lunch so we could have like a date. And it was Mexican. It was Mexican food, right? I want to say it was $50, $50 or $60. No, it was like $50, something insane for lunch. I remember we used to do Mexican for lunch because it was so cheap, right? You get the lunch special and it was so good. And I told Frank, I'm like, it's never going to go back. If these stores know and these restaurants are getting what they're getting out of all of us, you think they're going to go back to $7.99 for lunch? No, they're not. They're not. When you can go to take your family to fast food and it's almost the same price as going to sit down at a restaurant like that, that is not okay. We are not okay as a whole. Like, people are not doing okay. And I want you to know that that is okay. Like, a lot of us are right there with you. And, it's a crazy time to be alive. That's for sure. So we have to stay mindful. We have to journal. We have to identify what is triggering us before it knocks us on our ass with overwhelm. Okay? So what do we do to manage it? What are the strategies? What can you do with all of this? Well, number one, you've got to set realistic expectations. You have to be realistic with yourself. You don't have to do it all. You are not supposed to be perfect. You have to let go of this all or nothing perfection mentality, right? Be okay with telling people no. No, I'm sorry, we can't make it to that event. No, I'm sorry, we cannot do the Secret Santa this year. No, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to host Halloween at our house, right? You don't have to tell people why. No is a complete sentence. N-O, period. Okay? If things are not in alignment with your priorities, your budget, and your energy for this year, just say no. You do not have to do it all. Set your expectations, right? I really, really want to take the kids again to the Gaylord Resort up in National Harbor, right outside of DC. Every year they have their Christmas. It's called So Much Christmas. They have ice. It's actually, the whole thing is called Ice, where they do ice sculptures for some of the most popular Christmas movies. We went for the first time last year, just me and the kids. I picked them up on the last day of school before holiday break. We drove up there. We stayed the night in the room that had the balcony overlooking the beautiful Christmas atrium with the Christmas light show. We did the Rudolph ice. It was Rudolph ice sculptures. It was just precious. It was so cute. We had a good time. We made Christmas cookies in the room. We did all the things. And then we drove home the next afternoon. And it was such a cool way to start off the holiday season because they were now off. I was going to be off. And it was so much fun. I am telling you, to this day, they even brought it up last night. To this day, at least once a week, they talk about that trip. But let me tell you something. It is insanely expensive, especially if you stay there. It's a 3.5 hour drive for me, so it just made more sense to stay. The Gaylord is outrageous, especially if you stay in the balcony room with the Christmas view. I have been thinking about going again this entire year. I'm like, I can't wait till they release what the movie's going to be for DC and what they're going to have. It's Charlie Brown this year. I'm not a huge Charlie Brown fanatic by any means, but it's still cute. I think I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like. But I'm coming to the reality that I don't think we're going to be able to do it this year. I just can't. This has been a really hard year, work-wise, lack of work-wise, financially. It's been very scary this year. And I've shared this in other episodes, that some of my client contracts just abruptly came to a halting stop. Like, press on the gas, completely stopped in the middle of the month. It's happened multiple times this year. It's terrifying. And I just don't think that's going to be in the cards. And I feel sad because I always Google it. It always comes up in my Instagram and my Facebook ads. And I feel horrible every time I see it because I feel like a failure. I feel like a failure who can't take my kids to something that I started doing last year, right? Are they going to care? They probably won't. They probably won't even, like, if I say, no, I don't think we're going to be able to go this year, they'll be like, okay. But I wanted to go. I wanted to give them those memories. I wanted to have those experiences while my kids are going to be 4 and 8. This is the only Christmas season they're going to be 4 and 8. But the reality of it is, it's just not in the cards this year, along with everything else that has to be budgeted outside of the normal bills for the holidays. So understand that you may not be able to do all the things that you want to do, and that's okay. We will do something else locally. We will make up for it in other ways, right? And everyone is going to be fine. No one is going to suffer because we can't go to the luxury hotel and do the ice, right? We're going to be fine. I'm a little butthurt. I'll get over it. And next year is going to be better. It has to be. It has to be better. And just be okay with those realistic expectations. And the reality may be we just can't go there this year. We just can't buy those types of presents, whatever that looks like for you. Look at your life, look at your time, look at your budget, and figure it out, right? And then set boundaries. Set boundaries with yourself. First and foremost, this is not talked about enough. We talk about setting boundaries with other people. If you are zombie eating, if you are overeating, emotionally eating, you have no boundaries with you. You got to set boundaries with you first and foremost, okay? And once you set boundaries with yourself, now you know what's acceptable or unacceptable with other people in your life. Then you can set boundaries with family members or friends who you know are going to trigger you, right? Especially this year with the election, right? I mean, Thanksgiving is coming a few weeks off the heels of a major, major U.S. election. And you might just have to say to people, listen, we're going to just agree to disagree about our views. And I would much rather us not talk about those things because I don't want to have that tension with you. And if you say that to someone and they're offended, if they're offended by that, then that's another conversation that you need to think about having. That's another relationship that you need to reconsider. Because when you are being vulnerable with someone and saying something with kindness and respect of like, listen, I know we don't always get along. I know we don't always say the nicest things to each other. And they just blow up at you. Or you know what's worse than someone who blows up at you? What's worse than someone who blows up? Because then at least you know you're in there, you have emotions, and you are alive. Is the silent treatment. Ask me how I know. Friends or family that only can respond to you in the silent treatment are not worth your mental health. They are not worth your time, your energy, or your mental health. They're just not. That might hurt, but your health is the first priority. And if someone cannot have a difficult conversation with you and they claim to love you and care about you, then they're lying. Okay? So you got to first set boundaries with yourself. Secondly, you're going to set boundaries with family members and friends. And also, what does boundaries with yourself look like? It looks like, hey, I know trick-or-treating is tonight. I know that I really love to eat all the Milky Ways and the Snickers. I am going to redirect myself, or I'm going to let myself have one or two. You have to have boundaries around food. You just do. So the next thing is you've got your expectations, realistic expectations. You've created boundaries. You also need to take time for yourself. I roll my eyes so hard at this every time someone says, well, just take time for yourself, as if it's so simple for me to find time alone by myself to maintain my peace of mind. But the reality is that we have to do it. Self-care is not selfish. It is a necessity in order to stay healthy. And so again, let's go back to realistic expectations. Would I love to do a spa weekend alone? Yes. Absolutely yes. 100,000% yes. In my current state of life, is that realistic? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not realistic. So what then is realistic, right? Is going to the nail shop for a few hours realistic? Yes, for me it is. Is taking 10 minutes, 30 minutes a night to do a bath or meditate or watch a corny show, whatever it looks like for you. I am not you, you are not me. What does that look like for yourself? You have to take time for yourself. And then break it down. The next strategy is you got to take it day by day, chunk it out, right? If we come into October and we are just like, oh my God, there's all this going on between now and December, it feels overwhelming. Just like saying I have 100 pounds to lose is overwhelming. So manage it. Okay, right now, like for me, yes, I've had to focus on Halloween a little bit because we had to get the costumes because they were going to wear them for their birthday. And if you don't get them, they're not there. You know the drill. But first it's the birthdays. And let's get those out of the way, right? We got the dual party done. Kat's birthday was yesterday. I got Javi's birthday in a few days, okay? Then we got Halloween. I can't pre-plan Thanksgiving before Halloween. I just can't do it. I am so focused on what's happening now. I'm going to the store and I don't do plates. I do not do glass plates. I don't pull out the fancy plates. I don't do that for Thanksgiving, okay? I get the nice Thanksgiving themed paper plates, the sturdy ones, right? Because what I'm trying to do when that table is clear, just throw your plate in the trash. We're not trying to do more work. We're not fancy. We don't need to use, why are we using fine china? We are not those people. We do not need to use that shit. Okay? So find what works for you. For some people, maybe that's important. For me, it's not important at all, right? But I see the Thanksgiving plates. I see the Thanksgiving tablescapes coming out in the stores. I can't go there right now. I can't. So I chunk it out. Once Halloween Day of the Dead is over, then we'll think about Thanksgiving. Like, I just can't. I can't right now. If that makes you feel better, for some people they like to plan way ahead, then by all means do it. I know last year when I would order groceries in October, I was starting to order some of the Thanksgiving stuff, like the staples, right, that could be in the pantry. I was starting to order some of those things with each grocery order. So whatever works for you. You have to stay grounded, right? You have to stay grounded as we move into this season and prioritize your emotional health over everything else. Over everything else. You have to understand how important it is to have check-ins with yourself. Why? What did I say at the beginning? If you don't learn anything from this episode, it's about self-awareness. You can't be self-aware if you're not checking in with yourself on a regular basis, right? Even though everyone else needs you and it feels like everyone is, screaming for your attention, you have to prioritize you. And I tell my kids this. I have no shame in my game telling my kids, mommy needs some time away, because if I don't get any time to myself, like I talk about when it's bedtime, it's bedtime. I'm done with this long drawn out bedtime bullshit that's been going on. I don't say that to them, but like I'm telling you that. And I say to them, listen, if mommy doesn't get enough sleep, if I don't get enough alone time after you guys go to bed, then I can't be a good enough mom for you the next day, because I'm going to be tired and I'm going to be grouchy. It's okay to tell your kids that. You do everything else for them. It is okay for you to give boundaries, to say, listen, this is my time. Okay, I need an hour to myself. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. And it's teaching them what boundaries look like, healthy boundaries. Okay, so you just have to prioritize your emotional health over everything else. And all of this is going to help you in your weight loss journey. If you go back to the episode, it was a few episodes before this one. It was called Prepping for Q4, something like that. I talk about how to prep yourself as you go into Q4 on your weight loss journey in terms of, are we gaining, losing, or maintaining this year? Because the thing is, you usually don't think about that. You usually you're not self-aware. You go into the season, you don't think about it, you don't have boundaries. And next thing you know, January 1 rolls around and you're 20 pounds heavier than you were in September. Why? Because you didn't have a plan. You aren't self-aware. You are a zombie. Literally like a zombie. All through your life, right? You don't tune in. So have a plan. Are we gaining, maintaining, or lose? Are we gaining, maintaining, or losing? What is it going to look like? Okay. Because if you just want to maintain or you want to lose, then you better do some work on yourself. And even and when I say gain, I don't mean just go balls to the wall, keep yourself zoned out, I'm going to gain. When I say that, what I talk about is you're telling yourself, all right, you know what? I really can't focus on any of that right now, but if I gain 10 pounds, I'm okay with that. Okay? Because what we are not doing is waking up on January 1 and acting like we don't know how the hell we got here. Okay? We're not doing that. We're not waking up on January 1st and getting on the scale with our same tired ass New Year's resolution and going, oh my God, I gained 20 pounds over the holidays. I don't know how this happened. Yes, you do. You're choosing to not understand how this happened. You know exactly what got you here. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to figure out. Okay? So we have to put ourselves and our emotional state first. Okay. So again, the holidays are supposed to be joyous, but often for many of you, they feel the opposite. They're not joyful. They are stressful. There's a lot of negativity attached to it. Keep in mind that you don't have to do any of it. You don't need to do any of it. What do you want to do? Okay? Set your boundaries, manage your expectations, practice your self-care, and protect your peace. All these fucking signs at Home Goods that say peace on earth, practice that shit. Okay? Home Goods is telling you peace on earth on this board that you can put on your mantle. But are you practicing peace on earth? No. You're a raging storm inside your brain. Peace and joy. And they also got joy. We're going to put joy. I think I even have one of those stupid things. I have a thing that says joy that goes on one of my shelves. Let's remember that. Let's remember the reason for the season. Let's remember peace and love and joy. And let's remember to do that for ourselves. We're not living out here to make everybody else happy. We're just not. So let's practice what we preach. Let's practice what we hang up in our house, right? Come on. So think about how you're going to manage your holiday stress. How are you going to manage your emotional weight this time of year? And let's talk about that. Let's think about what that looks like for you. Let's have a discussion over in the podcast Facebook group or over on Instagram. And I want to tell you that the Irresistible You course, my signature course, I am relaunching that course very, very soon. It will be more accessible, where before it was packaged as a coaching course, a group coaching course, which is fantastic. I love doing the group coaching. I love the cohorts that we had, but I need to transition it a little bit so that it is more accessible for more people, and it will be coming out very soon. So please stay tuned for that. If you are not on my email list, please get yourself on there so that you don't miss anything coming out. And if there's any promotions, which there will be, you will be the first to know about that and get those promotion coupon codes for the course. So that link is down in the show notes. And when you sign up to my list, you also get a free action plan that you can implement today and start using. So that said, I am going to go ahead and start wrapping up this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed using your podcast player of choice. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscription and put the notifications on. You can also turn the notifications on for your podcast. I recommend using Amazon Music as your podcast player of choice. If you are an Amazon Prime member, you already have access to Amazon Music for free. You just have to download the app. If you are not an Amazon Prime member, I invite you to join my 30-day free trial. Check it out. See if you like it. I know most of you are probably already on Prime, but if you're not, it's definitely worth having the membership for a multitude of reasons. I mean, the shipping, number one, but there's a lot of other benefits that come along with that. So make sure you do that, and let's stay connected on social media at Irresistible Icing over on Instagram, and also at the Irresistible You Facebook group on the Irresistible You podcast group over on Facebook. Oh my goodness. All right. That's a sign that I need to wrap things up, and I will catch you in the next episode. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.